Fern Scott Jackson.
No Fern?
I guess she is not here.
Okay.
So next is Stanley Mann.
Hi, my name's Stanley Mann, and I've lived in Emeryville.
Excuse me,
so
I'm
wait.
sorry. You jumped the gun again.
You jump the gun just like I do all the
Yeah,
time. So
that's what I know it's getting repetitive,
listen to
but
the
we're
city
doing
clerk.
this for a reason. Okay. So, why are you interested in serving on the city's planning commission? In your response, please include a summary of your relevant education, skills, and experience, including any past civic involvement.
Well, I've lived in Emeryville since the summer of 2003. I've lived at the Watergate, and I feel that's a very good example of what future housing should be like. It has a wonderful community center. It has tennis courts. It has pools. It has a lot of good foliage, walking paths. It has indoor parking. And so that's the type of housing I'd like to see built with, if possible, in the future in Emeryville. And whatever housing, if you have to add density to the area, I feel that you should have retail on the bottom, like the Bay Street development is, and then on top you should have the housing apartments built. And I also think that there should be a certain percentage, though I haven't figured out what the percentage might be, but 2 and 3 bedrooms should be a significant part of that. And I think somehow in the general plan, what should occur is what's happened in the past. What allowed me to move into Emeryville was the silent second loan program and mortgage credits. And I know the economic development, state economic development agency is going away. So I think somehow in the future there has to be a way for teachers, firemen. I'm a nurse, a registered nurse by profession, and I don't earn the type of salary that people in entrepreneurs might earn. So I feel there should be a way of continuing to provide a way for people to be able to afford to buy the housing. So that's why I want to serve on the board. I want to see trees continue to be planted. I want there to be concern for big box stores moving in like Target, and to limit that, and maybe to see more businesses like Ours Monday move into Emeryville.
Okay, second question. What do you see as the role of a planning commissioner?
Well, I think it's in terms of whatever development gets done in Emeryville, I think you need to take into quality of living concerns, public space, greenery, pedestrian bike paths, getting people out of their cars, having concern for the San Francisco Bay and the surrounding marshlands. So I think you need to be able to take that into consideration and have some sort of a balance between the two. Anything around those parklands, for example, the Watergate Market, I'd like to see that not being built up. I'd like to see the Amtrak parking lot. I wouldn't want to see building on that, because there's a lot of canisters of toxic waste underneath there that might have to be removed to provide a foundation. So I think there has to be some sort of a balancing act, and I know it's not easy because the redevelopment agency is going away, and you also have to take into consideration the income that these businesses provide that come in to the community.
Describe your knowledge of the city's general plan and any other major planning documents that have adopted by the City Council in the past 2 years.
I must admit, I don't have a great knowledge of the plan. I'm not an architect. I do think that the ECCL development was good. I think it's very important to have good infrastructure. Schools are important, and I think that's an example of a very good development. I think the Performing Arts Center that they're planning to build, I think that was very good, because this will expose people outside the community to come into the community. And I think the arts program in Emeryville is very important to get people in the creative arts involved, to show their work and show that we're more than just a community of business people and entrepreneurs. And I think it's important for children in the community to see that, to have a place to go, these art exhibitions and this performing arts center and libraries. I think all these things, the public services that are provided, I think are very important, and I see that's important to have that in the community.
Can you give one example of a recent economic development or housing project in Emeryville that exemplifies your point of view regarding design, community benefit, and/or community process, and explain why?
Well, I think the Amador, the Archstone project, the Amador provides low-income housing. I think townhouse type style of building is good. You know, I think you have to have a mix though, because you got to worry about density. So I think the other good project would be Bay Street, what they did there, where they have the stores on the bottom and they have the apartments built above, and up to a certain height, you know, maybe 4 or 5 stories. I don't know, it should go further than that type of thing as far as density, but I think it's very important to have that kind of mixed-use balance, to have retail on the bottom and to have housing on top with either garages built underground or built vertically on top with the housing. I think you need to get people out of their cars. I think the pedestrian bike path that's going to connect people to Bay Street over the highway is very good. I'd like to see more of that type of thing to get people out of their cars. Parking should be charged to encourage people to use public transit. Businesses should be allowed to issue their employees tax benefits, tax-free, like the cards that combine the bus and BART type of things. So I think those are things that should be encouraged and built.
Okay. Ruth?
Stanley, it's not often that we have an RN come apply for the Planning Commission, so I'm rather intrigued by that, and if you'd care to expound a little bit on your ideas of promoting health through the vantage point of being able to serve on the Planning Commission.
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot as an RN. I've never worked in a hospital. I've worked at a blood bank, and I'm now doing work with Summit Health that encourages people to eat local produce, to grow their own produce, to avoid processed foods. And I think Emeryville has some programs where there's land that's being used where people can go in and they can grow their own food. I shop in the local markets here. I really don't buy any processed food because I think, you know, all the evidence has come out that red meat is bad for you, and people need to go back to eating varieties of fruits and vegetables and cutting down on the animal fat and protein in their diet. And so I think that a lot of people in Emeryville can do that, and I think any kind of services that are provided in the community for people to check their cholesterol, their blood pressure, their body mass index, I think that's the wave of the future to cut down on costs. And I think, I know there are some programs in Emeryville where people can go in and do that, check their blood pressure, and I think that's kind of the wave of the future. I think people need to take more conscientious look at what they're eating, that the restaurants should have the list of calories and fat on their food, so when people sit down, they can see, you know, make intelligent choices with regard to what they're eating.
Nora?
I'll pass.
Okay. Jennifer?
You mentioned the bicycle pedestrian. I think you mentioned in your application that you like to cycle as well, and I'm curious how you would contribute to that infrastructure. You mentioned the bridge over the to Bay Street over the tracks, but are there other ways that we could make Emeryville improve in that
Well,
vein?
I think more places where people can park their bike, lock their bikes up. I think that's a good thing. I think what they're doing in New York City is a good thing, where, and in France they've done this, where they've provided bicycles free, where people can use that and they can park the bike. I think you can do that with some kind of online service and maybe some kind of point service, which would encourage people to maintain the bikes. For instance, and people who go in and they do things like help lube the bikes or take care of the bikes, they would get added points. They may get more time to use the bike than people who are not. Some sort of program like that where you can get some sort of volunteer thing going so that you don't have to add another infrastructure for hire people to do that. I think that could be done with the appropriate bikes. A single single-track bike sort of thing, a very simple bike, sturdy bike that doesn't need a lot of maintenance, that you can go around a couple of miles in the city. I think it would be good.
Thanks.
Jack?
I don't have anything else.
Stan, thank you for applying.
Okay.
And I was just going to say, you're on that side of the tracks. On this side of the track, what other building really appeals to you?
I can't think of it right off the top.
Okay.
All right.
Because, I mean, where you live, it's kind of, it's a beautiful little area out there right now. So we need some of that brought on over here.
I definitely.
The greenways and those swimming pools, too.
Okay, all right.
Oh, you get 1 minute.
for concluding remarks.
Okay, so basically that's it. I think anything that's community-friendly, affordable housing that promotes people getting out of their cars and taking advantage of the parkland, and we continue to clean up the area and provide a safe, clean environment, I think that's good. I think we need to balance that out with all the retail businesses we have in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.